And that's the only thing on the agenda. So we'll move on to staff reports and other discussion items.
Thank you, Mayor. So in your packet, you'll see that you have your budget calendar for this upcoming budget season. The staff has been working on their budgets since April, and we've had several rounds of meetings with the individual departments, and we're hoping to have everything out to City Council by the 16th of June, if all works out well. And as you'll see, we have items on there for the individual meetings with the council members. If you would like to start scheduling those now with Christine and I, we'd be very happy to accommodate your schedule, understanding that some need to come early, some need to come later in the day, whatever it is you need, we're here for you. So we have those under 2 weeks, depending on how much time you think, or I know some of you like to come more than once, we can accommodate that as well. So if you would just take what we have in green into consideration and start scheduling your individual meetings with you. Also, I want to note that in the red, we have our budget work session, which is a 4-hour work session that we have scheduled on July 8th. And then after that meeting, if council feels like they need another one, we can do it again on July 22nd. So those are the main dates that I need you to look at right now and schedule meetings with us and get the council work sessions on the schedule. And for the public, this information will go in on the calendar online for people who want to follow it online rather than have to take a copy. Thank you, Mayor. That's all I have.
That's it. Nothing on city manager's announcements?
Yeah, I have a couple of announcements. Thank you while I'm here. I just want to let you know there's a couple of big events happening in Universal City this weekend. So it is Saturday, big day for Universal City, which is June 7th. We are having a kickoff for all of our 60 days of library events. Remember, they're for the young and the young at heart, and some are for the young at heart only, and some are for families. So if anybody's looking for some good entertainment and hanging out with residents from Universal City, that's a great place. And then the other thing is that we are having our farmers market. It's called the East Aviation Farmers Market, and that is on June 7th. And that will be down in the Aviation District, the Gather parking lot and the street in front of Gather. So 82 vendors at this point, so we hope that some or all of you will come and enjoy all the offerings hanging after that. I appreciate it, so thank you.
Thank you. To Mayor's announcements. Actually, it's been kind of a busy couple of weeks. Recently, County Commissioner Tommy Calvert for our area, our District 4, paid us a visit, and we gave him a briefing on the aviation district. He was interested about that. We've met 2 or 3 times over the past few months, and I keep mentioning it to him. But anyway, the city staff gave him a briefing, and within a couple of minutes, he realized the value and the economic impact that this program has for not only just our city, but also for the county in this area, the northeastern area. He is taking a look at all the different possibilities, and he's working with some of his teams to work with some companies that can be work with our teams here and be future realtors. It's not something that's going to happen overnight, but actually with our project we've got over there, I think this could cut off a couple, 3-4 years of the program of the aviation district. So this is something to really looking forward to. Also had an opportunity to talk with Congressman Cuellar. He visited on Memorial Day at the VFW. He gave a little speech, and he was very, very flattering to Universal City and complimentary to Universal City programs and stuff. So those are just 2 of the items that really were in the news. I mean, I had the opportunity to meet with Governor Abbott's aide, and he was apparently the governor is very, very happy with us. So he was here back a number of months ago. So we got on somebody's list. As of this afternoon, there's not anything agenda items for the 1st of July, the first meeting in July, which would be 1 July. So with that being said, unless an emergency comes up between now and then, we will not schedule a meeting for 1 July, and we'll go right into the budget meeting on the 8th of July, and then pick up on the 14th of July, the 15th of July for the second Tuesday. And with that being said, that's all I've got as mayor, and I'm Mayor, since you have the prayer.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. There's a lot, but I'm going to just say that I want to thank everybody for the all the input that we had on the selection of the council members. There were a lot of really good names in the hat. There were a lot of really good recommendations. It was not an easy decision. I don't want anybody to think that any of us took it lightly. Bernie might have, I did not. But it was definitely something that I know that I definitely prayed about it. So that's all I've got, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
No, thank you. Then we'll go around. Ms. Putt?
I'm going to start out on a really good note. The last 2 days have been the First Responders Cadet Academy, and I've been nosy. I'm not one of the volunteers, but I showed up and watched all the kids come in grumpy and hungry and tired, and by the time the orientation was done, they were perky and very interested, and I did go for the free breakfast tacos that I appreciate. Thank you for that. But this is really amazing. We have a lot of girls in this class. And I want to tell you, when Marla came in and when Lieutenant Zach Moore said, "She's my boss," heads turned. The looks on those girls' faces was really, it gave you goosebumps. And so this is really a tremendous thing. And Christina put this together. This is her second year. Third. I'm not perfect. But yeah, I just wanted to get in so I could see it for myself, what was going on. But really, to see these kids going from, "I don't want to be here," the question was, "Why are you here? My mom made me," to really interacting with everybody there, and it was phenomenal. What I'm going to talk about now is very unusual for me. It's a little difficult for me. Since we had our resignation, I have been getting a lot of inquiries on what's going on. Why is everybody talking about bullies? What is happening? We're at the beginning of a new term. I've been quiet for a couple of years, and I think we need to start out on a fresh start. So I have a few things I'd like to say. You know, there's an old saying, and I'm old enough to say it. Liars think that everyone lies. Cheaters think everyone cheats, and bullies accuse everyone else of being bullied. I was raised in a military family, and I was raised to treat everybody with kindness and respect, whether I agreed with them or not. Because of that, I have to tell you, in the past 2 years, I've been concerned about the growing animosity that has been going on in our city. When I decided to run for council, it was because I cared for this town. And I was truly concerned with the direction it was heading. Now, you can say I'm a doer, not a complainer, and when I see a problem, I usually get stubborn and figure out a way to solve it. First was the dog park. How do we build a dog park without using city funds? And we figured it out, and we built the dog park. Then I had promised John Williams, our mayor at the time, that Parks Partners would help with the maintenance of the park. And the park is, 13 years old now? And we have weekly maintenance that we pay for the park. We figured that out. Then we wanted to have an event that would bring people from everywhere to Universal City. And we started out with 100 pumpkins. And now we sell thousands, and we give away thousands of dollars to nonprofits. I really am going to acknowledge I have a reputation for getting things done, and I'm very proud of that. Don't get me wrong. When I decided to run, I knew not everyone was going to agree with me on everything. That's to be expected. But what I did not expect was to be falsely accused and slandered on a regular basis publicly, especially from people that I serve with. And I challenge anyone to show me when I bullied anyone from this dais or in this room. These meetings are recorded. If I did, show me, and I will apologize. But I don't think it happened. In fact, I'm the one who has been called names during council meetings. How did I respond? I sat there and I took it. I'm not going to take it anymore. If you have a problem with me, tell me. We'll work it out. I don't want to do this anymore. As far as I know, there's only been one city council member who has ever been had a formal complaint filed against them for bullying by a resident. And I will tell you, it was not me, even though many thought it was. Since 2022, before I even ran for office and elected, I was called names by a sitting councilman right here on this dais. I have been slandered, I have been shunned, not only in public, but at official city business as well. I have been followed, I have been investigated, and even had to install security cameras at my home at the advice of PD because of my concern that certain people do not have boundaries. I'm here to tell you though, even with all of this, I'm very proud to be up here and I work hard. I won't stop fighting for the future of this city, not even when I'm not up here anymore. So what I want is for all of us to move on, agree to disagree. That doesn't mean we don't like you. It's just we have a difference of opinion. And handle what we are here to do. And that is to manage city council business and nothing else. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Mayor Pro Tem?
Thank you. I also wanted to just give the plug for the First Responders Academy. The kids are really engaged. At the end of yesterday, they walked out of the building with the biggest grins on their face. One mom said, I think I was more excited for her to come than she was. And then she came bopping out and she's like, oh, I can see things have changed. And they were so excited, and they were so excited to come back today. And they all got CPR certified. And it's just really special to see it click in their brains that they can now save a life if they're ever in that position. And it is really special. I have asked Maribel to register a possible quorum just in case any of you all want to come up during the day or come in on Saturday. Tom has stopped by and Laura has stopped by, and I invite anybody just to come be a part of it. It's 8 to 1. Really 8 to noon is probably the key time to come, or you can come to graduation on Saturday, which is 10 to 12, and I would love to see anybody there. And then I had a similar kind of thought to Councilmember Putt. When I was raised on the golden rule: treat others the way you want to be treated, and that's really what I try to do in my adult life as well. I think that's a really good guiding principle. Bullying is a strong word. And I do not believe that behavior has been visible on the dais up here, other than the one interaction described by Mr. Putt earlier. I have tried to let the bully comments go after they were quoted in the community impact this week. After that, I felt like I really needed to address it. I have reflected on my behavior and on my actions, both on and off the dais, and I strongly disagree with any implication that I have engaged in any behavior that is similar to bullying. I have approached 2 different council members about comments that were made about me on topics unrelated to my service on the dais when they were campaigning. I have asked them not to use my name or these situations to influence voters. The conversations were handled in a calm and conversational manner. I told each of them if they had any concerns or questions to approach me, or to encourage a voter to approach me, or a resident. Anybody can approach me. I'm happy to talk about anything that you have questions about. I was satisfied after I walked away from these conversations that the issue had been addressed. I've always felt that each person up here runs because they want what's best for the city. We might have a different way of getting there, but we all are up here because we believe in Universal City and we want to make it the best community that it can be. So that might mean that we disagree sometimes, and that's okay. When something comes to a vote, if the vote doesn't go the way I wanted it, I'm all in after that vote. We decided as a group that that's a course of action that we are going to take, and I'm all in behind that. So I just encourage all of us to move forward, focus on the job UC voters asked us to do. Working together for the good of UC should be our goal in each and every meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Rose. Mr. Rubal?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Well, it seems like hearing this, that I've been out of town for more than a week or a week and a half. Basically, I can report to you that from Texarkana north, the temperature is 20 degrees colder from a high and a low, and that there's water up there, the grass is green and growing, and I found a few roads that are a little worse than ours. So basically, it was a great visit, and I'm sorry I missed some of the impact of things that were said tonight. I would like to caution the mayor about a Uvalde rule consideration to not have a meeting, a regular scheduled council meeting. There's certainly a lot of issues that we can discuss. Some that I've brought up in the past, they're new, they're all the time new issues. So basically, I think that was kind of a unilateral decision. I'd like to see it go to a vote if possible. But that being said, I think a key issue for residents is to understand the process. Understand the process. Now, whether it's the assignment of a new council member to replace a vacancy, or whether it is details about the budgeting, when is my road going to be fixed, type thing. I think we have to be open and present the process to the people. Greater transparency in the process will go an awful long way. And I would like to know about why our citizens in their respective areas are so concerned about crime. I'll highlight in surveys. I look online to multiple realtor sites, and basically they have Universal City and not in a great position, usually 20 to 30% higher in crime rate than others. So I'd like to hear from the chief where we've been and where we're going, so we can apply the appropriate resources to areas within the city that need it. I'd like to understand how the step increases of our city for salaries exceeds the GS step increases by approximately 50%. I want to understand why that's sustainable. I want to understand why, when we look at our extra-jurisdictional development areas, that we forget our best neighbor, Randolph Air Force Base, that applies $1.2 billion to the local economy per year and 12,000 jobs. I think we should not get around their rules. I think we should invite them into all of our processes and make sure we're doing well by them. The people who are putting out there in development are in high noise zone areas. They're in high risk areas for air traffic accidents. We have to be very careful and again, not go around what's established by the Air Force and work with them to make something great for our city. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. That's all I have.
Thank you, Mr. Rubal. Mr. Vaughan?
Thank you, Mayor.
Okay. That takes care of the announcements. Let's go to a consent agenda. All matters listed under this item are considered as routine city council. We have the minutes of the regular meeting last. We have also ordinance 655D2025 and granting the SVP for the Pediatric Heroes Primary Care Clinic at 958 Coronado Boulevard. And with that being said, I'll call for a motion.
Move to approve.
Second.
Any discussion? Call for the vote.
Councilmember Vaughan.
Aye.
Councilmember Goolsby.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Fitzpatrick.
Aye.
Councilmember Putt.
Aye.
Councilmember Rubal.
Aye.
Motion carried.
And next is the oath of office of a newly appointed council member to fill the vacancy of an unexpired 2025 to 2027 term. Judge?
my privilege as judge to swear in the newly appointed council member. As many of you recognize, I think this is 8 years experience, so this may be his 5th oath of office. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, if you would raise your right hand and repeat after me. I state your full name.
I, William Shelby,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will faithfully execute
that I will faithfully execute
the duties of the office
the duties of the office
of Universal City Council Member
of Universal City Council Member
of the state of Texas
of the state of Texas
and will, to the best of my ability,
and will, to the best of my ability,
preserve, protect, and defend
preserve, protect, and defend
the Constitution and laws
the Constitution and laws
of the United States
of the United States
and of this state.
and of this state.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congrats.
You're fine.
Well, that's official. Welcome back. That being said, our first official business tonight is going to be give me a second here, Resolution 983-2025, amendment to the Schertz ENS agreement. City Manager?
Thank you, Mayor. I tried to be as thorough as I could in the cover sheet with all of the background information that I thought you would need this evening. And so I won't go over all of that because I'm assuming that at this point that you've read it. I would also like to let you know that we have Jason Mappitt here, which is like rabbit but with an M. And he is the chief over the EMS service for the city of Schertz. He is going to do a presentation for you this evening. And then before we get to the resolution, you should feel to ask he or I or Chief Vernon any questions that you might have regarding EMS service. That particular. You want me to do this?
Thank you.
All right, Mayor, Council, thank you for having me. I want to talk a little bit about the ILA amendment that we're proposing. The first things first, a little bit of background about Schertz EMS. We currently have a staff of 93. A large department. We're the second largest department in the city of Schertz. You can see most of our staff are field personnel, made up of several EMTs and paramedics. Our paramedics, 80% paramedic, 20% EMT is kind of what our diversity is between those two. And then we have 24 volunteers as well. This is our service area. See if this works. It never works on TVs. Here we go. So that orange outline is our service area that goes all the way around. It's a large service area, about 230 square miles, population of about 160,000. So Northeast San Antonio, we cover 8 cities on the northeast side. That blue shaded area is the city of Schertz. You can see for the ambulances, that one right there is in the city of Schertz. That's Medic 1. Medic 2 is here in Universal City. Medic 3 is over here at Cibolo Fire Station 3. Medic 4 is over in Marion. Medic 5 is in the city of Live Oak. Medic 6 is along the Highway 35. That's our Schertz Fire Station number 2. Base truck. So we also have an ambulance on Joint Base San Antonio Randolph. And then Medic 8 is also in Cibolo. It's at Cibolo Fire Station 2. Most of those ambulances are 24-hour coverage. Some of them are 12-hour shifts, but they're 24 hours. So we have kind of a mixture of shifts with 12s and 24s. Our staff, the busy trucks are 12s, the slower trucks are 24 hours. They're on at 24 hours at a time, so you can imagine that. Medic 6 is what we call a peak hour truck. It's on every day of the week from 10 a.m. till 10 p.m. Our busiest parts of the day are about 9 a.m. till about 9 p.m. So we utilize peak hour trucks. Then Medic 8 there, we call that a power truck. So we overstaff, we overhire, we call them floats. So we have 2 people coming in every day. They don't know what station they're going to be at, but we have, as you can imagine, people taking vacation. people calling off sick. So they fill into those holes. And then if it happens we have a full staff, they man medic aids. So that's an extra truck if we're fully staffed. So that's medic aids. We're busy. This is a graph of our call volume over the last 20 years. That blue line is our calls for service. You can see what it's done the last few years. The red line is our transports. And we do bill Medicare, Medicaid, insurance companies. So obviously that transport line is something that we keep a track of. COVID year one is what we call it. COVID year one, with that dip in calls for service. We weren't the only ones that saw a big dip in calls, so did police, so did fire. Not sure, people didn't want to go to the hospital during COVID year one, but then they came back heavy in COVID year 2, 3, 4, 5, and then this year as well. Normally, we were seeing about a 4% increase, 3-4% increase in call volume, but you can see after COVID year 1, a 15% increase in calls, 9%, 7%. We thought we were starting to peak with a 3% increase, and of course, this year we're at 11% increase so far. So it looks like it's going back up. Our revenues, so this comes from our ACFR. And this is our revenues. The majority of our revenue at 65% comes from the fees that we charge users. So that's our ambulance fees. 33% come from what we call participant contributions. So the cities, parts of the county, and then the base makes up 33% of our revenue. On the other hand, expenses, the majority of our expenses, of course, almost 80% if you take out that depreciation cost. So the majority, obviously, is personnel. We do buy our ambulances with cash. So every year we buy one new ambulance, and we remount an ambulance every year, and we do that with cash. We're not in debt. Same thing with the other equipment as well. All the agreements together for the base, the county, and the cities all equates about $3.5 million. Our biggest contributor is the city of Schertz, down at their bottom with 22%, followed by Joint Base San Antonio Randolph at 19%, and then followed by Cibolo, and then Universal City. Now, when we started covering the base, they wanted an ambulance full-time, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and they have requirements. The DoD has requirements for response times for EMS. They require an ambulance on scene within 12 minutes, 90% of the time. So they said they're going to pay for the entire ambulance, so that's why their figure is so much. They are least busy truck. They average about one call in a 24-hour period. So they are least busy, but they do contribute quite a bit, almost 20%. Or if you just break down just the cities and how we come up with those costs, it's what we call a per capita fee. Currently this fiscal year, that per capita fee is $17.52 per person for each city. So this is how it's broken out. And this is just for the 8 cities. Does not include base, doesn't include Guadalupe County or unincorporated areas of Guadalupe County as well. Total population for all of the cities are 143,480. And you can see we have a population change of 896, which equates to about $15,000 for this fiscal year. If you break that out into costs, so $2.5 million, and you can see how that's broken about with Schertz. So the city of Schertz does, we actually send them an invoice quarterly, and they do pay that $791 and change. Followed by Cibolo and Universal City and Atlanta. Same thing with Selma, Comal County ESD 6, which is the Garden Ridge and Bracken area. And then the city of Santa Clara and Marion also pay us that per capita as well. Ambulance fees, we're expensive. We're not the most expensive. And this, best way to explain this one is this fiscal year, we did increase our fees by $150 for each one of these. We mostly bill that BLS emergency and that ALS 1 emergency, depending on the care that we provide. So if we're doing paramedic level care, that's going to be billed at the ALS 1 level. If we're doing BLS care or basic life support, then that will be billed at the BLS emergency bill rates. Aid call, we do charge if we come out to your house, but only if we do care. And what I mean by that is if we come to your house, we start an ID, let's say you're diabetic and you have low blood sugar, we'll start an ID, give you sugar, you wake up, I don't want to go to the hospital, there is a fee for that. If we come to your house and just check you out and don't provide any type of medications, there's no fee for that. And then mileage is also down there. It's $25 per mile as well. So on average, it's about $1,600 to go by EMS. Expensive. That's how we compare to other cities in the area. These are all municipalities. It's not private EMS. So this is just other EMS services that are city, county, and then ESDs. And you can see we're in the upper for costs. A little deceiving there, the little asterisks there, some of those itemize. So if they give you oxygen or IVs or medications, they then bill you for that. We don't itemize, it's just the base rates. Now, let me go back a slide. As you can see, we have not increased our fees for a bit. So it was fiscal year 13. So it was 10 years. Economies of scale. So right now, if we are fully staffed, so we have that power unit on, which is 8 ambulances. The city of Universal City has at its power 8 ambulances. There are times, I met with the fire chiefs back in end of March, beginning of April, and again with the city managers, I showed them the same presentation, where I found simple days to where we had 3 separate ambulances on 3 separate calls in Universal City on March 3rd between 6 and 8 a.m. This happens on a regular basis, that we have multiple ambulances in all of our service areas. So that economies of scale for all the cities definitely works. EMS, or I call it expensive medical equipment services. It's inflation. So when COVID happened, we all experienced the inflation. The costs for equipment skyrocketed. I would like to say that we are done with these high costs. They're not coming down though. They're just now just up there. And oh, by the way, I just got an invoice for an ambulance for 2025, and it was $340,000. And that's just the ambulance, no equipment at all. So you can see the cost of outfitting an ambulance is $546,495 for one ambulance. So we discovered, our finance director discovered a problem last summer. He said, hey, Jason, oh, by the way, you're going to finish this year in the red. So almost $500,000 in the red. And this is with cash. We said we're going to be in the red. We didn't quite hit that 494. We were about $200,000 better than that. And then he was predicting that we were going to be finishing in the red this year by almost $800,000, which it's almost closer to $1 million now. And then he predicted fiscal year 26, 27, 28, 29 to look like that, which sounds great, looks great, but that's if we don't add any personnel, and that's if we don't add any ambulances at all. And like I said, our fleet replacement is we buy a new ambulance and we remount an ambulance every year. A remounted ambulance, we just take an existing ambulance, we buy a new chassis, we take the box off this, and mounted onto a new chassis. There's some cost savings there. So we realized we have a problem. This is our end of fiscal year cash balances for the last 20 years. You can see after fiscal year 2008, with the recession that we had, we started getting into the red with our cash. I became the chief. I've been with the city for, this is my 19th year. I became the chief right around here in fiscal year 14. And we've been operating in the black, which is almost unheard of for EMS. EMS doesn't make money. We are set up as an enterprise fund as well in the city of Schertz. We're not part of the general fund. So we pay for everything. So we pay for, obviously, all of our salaries. We also pay for insurance, TMRS, retirement, everything. And like I said, we also pay for ambulances and all the equipment as well. But you can see what we've kind of done for the last few years. And we ended up in the red by $253,000 last year. We had I won't say a perfect storm by any means, but here's kind of what happened, if I can try to explain. The first thing is, traditionally we were staffing our ambulances with 24-hour crews. So they'd come on and work 24 hours, they'd be off for 48 hours, and they come back on 24 hours. That's a traditional model for EMS and for fire. Although fire services have moved to like 48, 96-hour model, where EMS, on the other hand, is going away from 24s and they're doing 12-hour models. Just too busy. They're just running, they can't run 18, 19 hours without any sleep, and that's what was happening. So we did change some of our staffing. Medic 1, Medic 2, Medic 5 are all now 12-hour trucks. Unfortunately, when you have a 12-hour truck, you have to add 2 employees to every single one of those trucks to have the same coverage. So to have a 24-hour ambulance, it's 6 employees. The same coverage with 12-hour staffing, it's 8 employees. So we have had to add an additional 6 employees for that. Another thing that happened is our TAS, or we call it Texas Ambulance Supplemental Payment Program. I found this, it's almost grant dollars back in fiscal year 2017, and we started collecting in 2018. For those patients that we respond to that have Medicaid, we only collect a certain amount of money. So even though we're billing on average $1,600, Medicaid gives us $200 and change, and we have to write off the rest. Medicare is a little bit better. They give us $400 and change, and we have to write off the rest. But this was a program that we could actually send into the state, which would then send into the feds, and we get some reimbursement for those patients who have Medicaid. We were pretty excited for the first couple of years. You can see $366,000, almost $500,000. And then the state decided to take more than they were. So the haircut was a little bit different. So you can see $96,000, $148,000. And then we were excited, $466,000 again. And then you can see the last couple of years has been, we're still going to continue to do this because to me, it's money. Next year, we're looking at about $75,000. So the state is still taking more of their share. So that's unfortunate, but we've collected almost $2 million in reimbursements for Medicaid. Another thing for the state, Senate Bill 2476, no surprise act, they banned ground ambulances from balance billing patients. What that means is if I take you to the hospital, you have insurance. If that insurance belongs to TDI or Texas Division of Insurance, we collect what the insurance pays us, and we cannot collect anything more from the patient. That is a deficit of about anywhere from $150,000 to $200,000 in revenue that we've noticed. This just started last January, so we're kind of keeping an eye on this. Insurance companies are supposed to be paying more for the ambulance. We're trying to decide if that's true or not, but that was a little bit of a decrease in our revenue. And then the city of Schertz did a classification and compensation study of all the employees in the city of Schertz. These are the top 10 participants that were outside of market the most. So these are the top 10 that were outside of market most. And you can see our EMTs were number 1 and almost 30% behind market. And our paramedics were number 3, 21% outside of market. I don't know what was happening. We were getting paid a fair, good wage, but then all the services around us just started increasing their wages. We do have a pretty good paramedic shortage in the state of Texas. So my guess is that's what agencies were doing, was increasing the rate. So this hit us pretty hard. The city did enact that for all positions last January. So it did increase it. So how that looked. So on the left side was pre-class and comp for our EMTs. The cities that we were compared to, we were 8th, we were last. We didn't become first. It got us after the class and comp, it got us to 5th for our EMTs. For paramedics, we were last, we were 8th for paramedics. After the class and comp, we were 3rd. We were 3rd after class and comp. And this was as of last January of 2024. We have now, Sam Arthur is now above us for pay, but we didn't expect to be the first on either one of these. When we're looking at authorized personnel, this is my authorized personnel, those blue lines for the last several years. You can see how many authorized staff we have. This year, we're at 93. That orange line is growth. So all that means is that it's the percentage difference between the year before. So we had a 3% growth in our staff for this year. We have predictions over the next year, 3 years. So 4% growth, and then a 7% growth, and then a 6% growth for fiscal year 28. Since we enacted the class and comp study, you can see how many employees we lost to pay issues. You can see what happened before class and comp. 5 employees, 4 employees, 6, and then 6. In 2024 and 2025, we lost 0 employees due to pay issues. We track on why they left. We have had people leave, but the people that we've lost in 2024, it wasn't pay related. The last employee full-time we lost was in December. That was a retirement after 25 years. And today, so it's June, we've not lost any full-time employees, which is unheard of for us. Overall, we have about a 15% turnover rate, which is low for public EMS. So we're pretty proud of that as well, but we were bleeding people because of pay. Yeah, so efficiencies, I welcome Doge into my department. I would welcome them. I'm very transparent with my budget. I've tried to do a lot of efficiencies, as you saw, that were operating in the black. The first thing, we went from dual paramedics, having 2 paramedics and ambulance, to hiring some EMTs. It's a $20,000 savings every time we hire an EMT. We hired those floats that I was talking about. So we have extra staff that we know we're going to have open positions because of sick and call-offs. So they're coming in. If we have a full schedule, then they man an ambulance. We do EMT classes. We do 5 to 6 EMT classes now a year. Each one of those nets $15,000 per class. Pretty successful EMT program as well. And then we're remounting those ambulances. That's about $180,000 less than buying a new ambulance. And we're able to reuse all the equipment as well. So we're not having to buy all that equipment too. So definitely some cost savings there. We started our volunteer program, which helps operations out. Senate Bill 8, so I'm always trying to look for grant dollars. Senate Bill 8, Texas realized that there's a big shortage of paramedics. So these are all scholarships. So we sent 13 of our EMTs over the last 2 years to paramedic school on the state's dime. So we didn't have to pay for that. That's almost $100,000 in savings. iPads. You would think that this would be a simple one. We obviously have to do our patient care reports on computers. And in the past, we used these tough books that were $5,000 to $6,000 pardon. We found a way to use iPads. Those are $700. So $700 versus $6,000. So we've got definitely some savings there. We have an in-house full-time supply officer now that are looking for the best prices, trying to reduce waste. And then we do in-house billing instead of third-party in our billing department out. That way, if any of your citizens call with a issue with their bill, we can help them instead of them calling an 800 number. So our future. So we already have Medicaid kind of on when we're fully staffed. But fiscal year 26, we need to bring that truck on. It's going to be a peak hour truck on from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. How does that help Universal City? So imagine that truck not there, and we have a call in Cibolo, so then that truck right there goes over to Cibolo, and then imagine if we have a call in Schertz, and now the UC's truck is going over to Schertz. By having that truck there, it doesn't happen. So anytime we add any ambulances in our service area, it helps all of our cities. And then fiscal year 26, just like we talked about Medicaid, we're gonna have those floats. So Medicaid will be on all the time, Monday through, well, Sunday every day, from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. And then if we're fully staffed, then we can start bringing on a Medic 9, which we need up in this service area up here. So you're gonna occasionally see Medic 9 on when we're fully staffed. For fiscal year 27, our predictions, Medic 6 right now is what I talked about, it's on from 10 a.m. till 10 p.m. It's going to be on 24 hours. We're going to need 24-hour coverage on 35. You can imagine we get a few wrecks on 35, especially with the construction that we're having. We're not sure when it's going to be finished. So it's going to be the time to bring on Medic 6 on all the time. And then we should see that Medic 9 truck more just like we had with Medic 8. And then fiscal year 28, so 3 years from now, we should be bringing on Medic 10 on like we did with Medic 8 and then Medic 9. We're not sure if we're going to put it at Schertz Fire Station 3 or Cibolo Fire Station 4 once it gets built. But this is kind of what our strategic plan is, at least for the next 3 years. So if we continue with the per capita model, this is what it would look like for the general fund. Right now, when we're in the red, we borrow from our general fund for the city of Schertz. So if we continue with our strategic planning, with adding personnel, adding ambulances, at the end of fiscal year 28, we'll be almost $4 million in the red. So what we are proposing, I know we're on year 2 of 5. We've never done this. I've been with the city, like I said, for 19 years. We've never come mid-agreements when these agreements are 5 years. And this is the first time. And I'm not happy about it. But we are looking to add an addendum for years 3, 4, and 5. And by doing that, we're going to maintain service levels as well. There's certain things we can do to try to bring in more money. We raised ambulance rates. That's not always the best. Not everyone pays their ambulance bill. Medicare doesn't pay, Medicaid doesn't pay, and insurance companies don't necessarily pay as well. We did do that. The other thing is increasing prices for our cities. The other thing that we don't want to do is decrease service levels. We don't want to down ambulances. Right now, I'm pretty sure all the cities are very happy with our service levels. If we decrease ambulances, I think we would have another conversation. So I don't think you would be as happy. So we are proposing 2 options. One, it's huge, 35% increase for fiscal year 26, and then a 5% increase for fiscal year 27, and then a 5% increase for fiscal year 28. Or a second option, which is still painful, 20% increase for fiscal year 26, 20% for fiscal year 27, and a 5% increase for fiscal year 28. The other thing that I'm putting in my budget for next year is to bring in some EMS consultants. I want them to go through our departments with a fine-tooth comb, do a deep dive, look for more efficiencies, look for our ambulance replaced, look at our strategic plan for the next 3 years to 5 years. Also, I want them to look at the per capita model. The per capita model has its faults. We have 2 increases that we do for the cities. One is the cost of inflation for medical care services. The problem with medical care services is great, but that's not the biggest part of our budget, which is personnel. And we only go up no more than 3%. This year was 2.65. The other is adjusting populations. Down there in the bottom is UC's population over the last 5 years. Because we had COVID in fiscal year 20, they had to do some estimations for city populations. There weren't people going door to door asking for those populations. So there was some overestimations of populations, which you then had to actually adjust. There's a decrease in UC population, which was a decrease in fees for fiscal year 24 by 6%. You can see that. So I would like the consultants to come in and give us some advice on the per capita model and to see if there's something else out there that is more fair for all of the cities. So this is what that would look like. So it's a $124,000 increase, followed by a $24,000 increase and a $25,000 increase if you do a 35.55. What that looks like for our budget is that gets us out of the red next year. It gets us cash positive next year. That's 35.55. And that's if all of the cities do this. I'm going to all the cities and letting them choose between the 20.25 or the 35.55. The next one is the 2025. So it's $71,000 increase for fiscal year 26, followed by $85,000. And then $25,000 for fiscal year 28. And then that would get us out of the red in 2 years. So I'm going to put all these up on what we are all responsible for, Schertz EMS. The first thing, obviously, we take care of all the personnel, hiring, turnover, training. We deal with the shortages, we deal with the overtime. We have 13 ambulances that we maintain and license and service. We do a lot of standby events, especially here in UC. We have one of the ambuses. There's 15 ambuses in the state of Texas. It has the capability of transporting 20 patients. So that's available for the city of UC. We have a medical director, so you have to have a doctor that allows our EMTs and paramedics to do what they do. Obviously, there's a cost and risk for that. We deal with a lot of bureaucracy, the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services, DSHS, DEA, hospitals. We have audits. We have to do reporting to Medicare, that's the GACs. We do a lot of training. You can imagine all of our EMTs need so many hours of continuing education, our paramedics. We do field training, so that's all onboarding as well. We track certifications, not only for our service, but your service. We have some pretty advanced protocols. We carry whole blood. We carry antibiotics as well. So our protocols are pretty advanced. We have a community health program, supplies, dealing with supplies and waste, billing, just understand those requirements, there's a lot to it. Mental health, exposures, and then we are the subject matter for, when we had big COVID crisis and then measles, obviously we're the ones that you guys are going to come to as well to help with that. So with that.
Thank you, sir. Any comments or questions? Mr. Rubal?
Tom, Minister Randolph, what's the average 90% response time for UC?
What's the answer? Response time for UC, 5 minutes. Is our response time for average.
Because you have a vehicle here.
We have an ambulance here in UC, so our average response time is 5 minutes, on average 5 minutes. So yeah, so we're going with the fire department on most cases.
I was curious whenever you said it was as an enterprise operation, it's very challenging. And I point out to our fellow council members that in last year's budget, just for Life Pack 15, was in excess of $50,000 for that one Life Pack. as just one element in this thing. I find the response time of the ambulance service here, EMS, very, very good in my neighborhood, excellent. And I will pass discussion on to the members of council.
Mr. Shelby?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm going to ask you some hard questions since you decided to be gracious with your appearance. Remind me again when you said you guys did your salary bump, that was 24 or 2025?
So January of 2024 is when it took in effect. The classic comp was done at the end of 2023.
But it wasn't until later mid this year that it was determined that you guys were you were going to start ending up in the red. Is that correct?
Our finance director brought that to our council's and mayor's attention in July of 2024.
Is it for such a large salary bump, and as a former paramedic, it used to be $9 an hour in the 90s. I can appreciate that. I'm glad we're paying people good salaries, but I think when the cities are helping foot the bill for that kind of a pay increase, I'm just wondering if we missed a step of maybe letting all of the municipalities know that was coming our way, because there's no way you can raise salary that much and not have it have some kind of impact on your bottom line.
Yes, sir.
I've got a question, probably more for the fire chief. Don't take this personally. Have we looked at what it would cost as comparable if we were to utilize something like Acadian, AMR, or something like that?
So, yeah. So we looked at a couple different EMS services. We looked at Acadian and we looked at Allegiance. Allegiance recently took over the Bexar County contract in place of Acadian, who's had it the last 3 or 4 years. Acadian came in higher than what we're looking at here with Schertz EMS. Allegiance did come in just about what we're currently paying now. But I do have several concerns with Allegiance. With them being awarded the county contract, we're hearing all the other departments complaining about delayed response times, that these folks are waiting 30, 45 minutes for an ambulance to get to their home. So those are my concerns. They quoted us about the same cost that we're paying, about $350,000 to put a dedicated unit in our station. But what we're not getting with that cost that we are getting with Schertz EMS is all the other things that he showed you. The training of all of our medics and having that unit in-house. Not only having that unit, but having 8 additional units within that 2 to 5 minute response time. They couldn't guarantee us once that first unit went out, how long we would wait for a second or third unit. So there's a lot of concerns with that.
We may keep our costs the same, but we will see a degradation in the service that we're used to.
You'll see it definitely a drop in service.
Okay, and then I'm going to bounce over kind of this direction, and then I'm going to yield. We are amending our agreement. If we go forward, we're just going to take the increase, and then we'll be renegotiating again at the end of, what did I say, 2028?
Probably in fiscal year 2028 or fiscal year 2029.
Okay.
So we would hope that sometime early in fiscal year 2028, Schertz will have completed whatever study it is that they're going to do and come back to the individual cities to say, hey, this is our model going forward and this is the fee structure. And so we would hope in doing that they would do another interlocal agreement for 5 years starting in 2029.
And I'm sorry, sir, do you have expectations of these kind of jumps again in the next discussion? I mean, I'm hoping you're planning out that far. I mean,
I don't. The other thing that I want to do is try to prepare for these next 3 years. That would give us a little bit of a cushion as well. And go to some of our predictions. I want to get back in the black for cash, being cash positive. I want to continue to be efficient for the cities and cost effective as well. So.
What is your guardrail on being cash positive? I mean, is it 1 million? Is it 2 million? Is it 5 million? So what do you want to limit yourself? Because, I mean, obviously you're not in the business of making money.
We are not. We're an enterprise fund, so we're not supposed to have cash reserves. But I don't want to get into a situation where we are currently today, where we're coming to mid-agreements and asking for more money.
Okay, and have you been over, and you had it on another slide, I'm sorry, have you been over 1 million in the past?
We have.
One point
1.3. 1.3.
Okay.
1.2.
Okay. Thank you. There you
Mr. Bond?
I think the constant feedback we get as a service is amazing. So I think if there were complaints about service, it would make this a little bit harder. But I wonder, has there been any, I'll ask the staff this question, has there been any conversation about the member entities getting together and having like an oversight board of the EMS to be able to provide input and like talking about how many ambulances we might need or the fees that Schertz is charging for overhead and trying to provide some checks and balances on that? Has that been a conversation?
So we have not had that conversation. I do know that the chiefs meet on a regular basis.
We've talked about it. I think that was primarily what our first meeting was with the EMS director, was to talk our way through that. And I got to tell you, we're the only ones questioning it in any of the cities around us. They just seem to not have any problem. I brought that up. I'm like, collectively, we could probably break away from the EMS, but we would have to have an ambulance. Live Oak would have to have an ambulance. Selma would have to have an ambulance. And we all know that nobody wants to get into that business right now because of the initial cost of what he's telling you that he's paying per ambulance. And I'd have to have 3 ambulances at a minimum just to maintain that coverage. So nobody's talking about doing that right now just because of the cost. We're already, looking at increasing our EMS coverage by $250,000, which is tough enough, much less trying to come up with $2 or $3 million to start our own
So to
EMS.
answer your question, the answer is no. And I believe what he's saying is, could we hear from you more often rather than waiting once
Absolutely.
every 5 years or when you're in a crisis moment and have either every 6 months or every year a review of your finances and your staffing so that moving forward, we're all aware of the impact it has not only on you, but on all of the partner communities as well.
Not so much briefing me because I don't really know how to.
I think it's I think it's the CPI too. And would you agree that we need to come up with something different as far as, I know that some of our grumbles as fire chiefs are, we don't run as many calls as Cibolo. And Cibolo says, hey, Selma's saying, hey, I don't run as many calls as Universal City. Why am I paying this price and compare? I think it needs to be looked at, and I think Jason recognizes that, and that's why the CPI and the per capita based on our residents is probably something that's outdated. There may be a better formula out there, taking call volume into consideration, how many calls we're running, but we have concerns with that as well because we know our population every day, there's a lot of people that come into Universal City every day that require EMS that don't live here in our city. So we need to look at that as well.
Sir, I'm not against an oversight board. I would like to see that EMS consultants come in and see what they would recommend. But right now, our fire chiefs are all of our point of contacts with all of our cities.
Well, and no disrespect to our fire chiefs, but like I said, I don't know how they do their job, but I'm a numbers guy, so I would have a numbers guy involved as well. I'm not saying me, but I mean, if every city could appoint a person to maybe be on an advisory panel, so when you want to make a decision about we need this new ambulance or whatever, then maybe they could weigh in. Maybe some of these costs wouldn't be as shocking, or we'd have a little bit more buy-in. So I would be in favor of approving the resolution, and maybe we could incorporate some kind of advisory board into it.
I'm against that.
Thank you.
Mr. Goolsby?
So I'm going to go ahead and tell you, number one, he stole my thunder. Number two, he knows his numbers. But I do appreciate, because one of my things is I always hate it whenever when our pay scales are either at the top or the bottom of the list. I mean, sorry guys, I hated it when we're at the top of the list on the pay scale, but I'm looking over it. So that's wonderful for that person, but not for everybody, right? So maintaining where, middle of the road, that's where I think we need to be. But I also sit here and we have great police force, we have a decent fire department. And we have and everybody appreciates the EMS service. I know that my family has used it, so I think you're spot on with where you need to be, even though it frustrates me. But you're not isolated. You are seeing the effects of rising costs on everything. It's very difficult. I appreciate what Councilmember Vaughan had to say as far as some type of additional information coming from outside sources. I think that would be a benefit. Thank you, sir.
If you don't mind, yeah, it disappoints me as well. When I took over as chief and was able to make us cash positive, I was pretty proud of that.
Any other
Yeah, I was going to ask something about the possibility of extending the contract that we're renegotiating right now to 5 years, as opposed to just 3 and renegotiating then. And I don't know if that's a possibility or a good idea, but it does sound like you're talking about potentially changing the model, and so then I'd hate for you to be strapped in on something that doesn't make sense for you or for us.
That's exactly why we're not recommending that, because what do we do for year 4 and 5? We do a new agreement or extending it. So we wanted to come back with the per capita model, in my opinion, needs to be looked at. So this gives us a chance to do it sooner.
Okay. And I agree with Councilmember Goolsby's comments on the fact that you netted out in the middle of the salary package is good. It was a significant increase that you offered to your staff, and that, you knew before now that it was going to be impactful on us. Does that make sense? Like, it would have been nice to get a heads up or more of a consultation, say, we're doing this, we might be having to approach you.
So if you don't mind, maybe trying to explain it a little bit.
Sure.
So this is my 3rd class account study that the city of Schertz has done, and that's 4 different city managers. The previous 2, the city took it as, yeah, we're behind. What we're going to do is we're going to extend this out for 4 years. So we're going to increase, but it's going to be over a 4-year period. What happened after 4 years? We're still behind. And so we did that, and there was so much frustration with the employees. With our new city manager, they said, we're not going to do that. We're going to make this right. And again, we're not at the very top with our positions, and that's not what we strive for. 45% is really where we were at for all of our positions. So I agree.
That's all.
Okay.
Real quick. Chief Perna, you kind of touched on it with 35 being a disaster. That means 78's a disaster. Paprika Road's a disaster. We all know we try to go places. Do we have any clue with what % of the calls are Universal City residents versus people passing through, don't know our patterns?
So those forms that we have, they all say 7A and 4A. Is there a way to break that down? We were talking about that. I was talking with Kim just the other day. I haven't had a chance to really hear Jason. He sends me a regular report every month of the calls that are in Universal City that Schertz EMS runs. They do have addresses attached to them, and they do say, I have seen a variation in zip code. I just haven't had a chance to sit down with him yet to see if we can break that down even further into how many of those are actual residents of our city.
I appreciate that. That's all this one.
Mr. Well, yes, Chief. With regard to staffing and price, how do you find your staff as far as preference for 24 versus 12 hours?
Sorry, mate.
Yes, sir.
You said chief, so I was.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So right now it's a mix. We do have, the majority of our staff is 12 hours, but we do have some folks that still like to work 24 hours, but they are at the slower stations. So we have 3 stations left that are 24 hours, 24 on, 48 off. Right now, I don't believe we have anyone that wants to go for 24s to 12 right at this moment. So right now, we have a good balance of folks. The folks that want to work 12s are on 12s. The folks are on 24s or 24s. We do have some folks that work 12 nights that would like to go to 12 days. And they're waiting.
So, but per unit, there's almost a 20 to 30% increase in, more than that, increase in cost for a 12-hour unit compared to a 24-hour, probably even more than that. So, right. So when you switch to a significant portion of 12 hours, you've increased overall cost because you've added 2 extra people for support and so on, right?
Yes, sir. Our future is not to bring on more 24 on 48 hour schedules. It's more 12 hours. So we're trying to prepare for that in our budget.
And just as an entertainment fund, I provided the very last CPR certification course for Schertz EMS when it was the last volunteer year with 1 ambulance and 12 people in the class. So, and they were very concerned about where Schertz EMS was going at that time.
Yes, sir. So we've come almost full circle out of Safe CMS, and we're pretty proud of our roots. And it's kind of crazy that we'll come back and we have some volunteers again.
Mr. Shelby?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll bring some outside experience as I've worked 8s, 12s, 13s, 24s, and I've worked a couple of 48-hour shifts. And I'm okay with having medics that are, especially at fast stations, working 12-hour shifts, because there have been a handful of nights that I don't want to admit that I was sitting at a stoplight and I would close my eyes to wait for it to turn green because that was the only opportunity I had to do that for a 24-hour period. And I would much rather have staff that is rested and fresh coming to help our citizens. Ms. Turner, have we done a financial impact analysis of the 35% versus 20% option to the city?
So obviously, we're going to do the budget, which whatever amount that you give us. I believe at this point, we were looking at the 481,000, but I'm sure you'd make the finance director happy if you went with the 2025. But again, when we get more evenly.
Okay, but it has a heavier-handed impact for the first year on us.
Correct.
We can spread the pain out just a little bit. I mean, I know it's still 2020 as opposed to 35.5, but.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other comments? At this time, I'll need a motion or direction to the staff.
I move we accept the 25% increase.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Any other discussion? Let's call for the vote.
Who was the second?
Lori.
Ms. Putt?
Councilmember Shelby?
Aye.
Councilmember Putt?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Fitzpatrick?
Aye.
Councilmember Goolsby?
Aye.
Councilmember Rubal?
Aye.
Councilmember Vaughan?
Aye.
Motion carried.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jason. At this time, we're going to change the schedule just a little bit. We're going to go into executive session. Pursuant to Texas Code 551074 matters, personnel matters regarding deliberations about appointment of a public officer was actually taken care of last Thursday. So was on the agenda. This agenda was made prior to that meeting. So I just wanted that one to be off the table today. But the City Council will convene into executive session pursuant to Texas Code Section 551.074A2 to discuss a complaint filed against a city council member, and then we'll reconvene and attach. So, that being said.
You see the seating sign this, right? Please tell me this pin survives this.
But not us. We're still here. You guys, like,
Got your sea legs back?
Better be good, right?
Legs.
What did I do?
Sea legs. Whatever you legs.
Well, I haven't signed it. Did you stop me?
She went to Japan, not Korea.
He was still at sea.
Yeah.
You told me for 2 months he was going to Korea. Not a J word.
You got my address. Thank you.
Not a check. Tuition.
Tuition.
I think that's a good word. Should be.
It is 8:05, reconvening the meeting from the executive session, and no action will be taken from the executive session. We have one last item on the agenda, that is resolution 956A1, 2025, amendment to the Code of Conduct Policy of elected and appointed officials.
Move to postpone indefinitely. Second.
Okay, I have a motion to postpone indefinitely and seconded by Ms. Putt. Any discussion? Call for the vote.
Mayor Pro Tem Fitzpatrick,
Aye.
Councilmember Putt,
Aye.
Councilmember Goolsby,
Aye.
Councilmember Rubal, Councilmember Shelby,
Aye.
Councilmember Vaughan.
Aye.
Motion carried.
With that, meeting adjourned at 8:07.
It's still like that.
Yeah.